Population is a pivotal element in social studies. The Census of India provides us with information regarding the population of our country. Census is the procedure of systematically acquiring and recording information about the members of a given population. Once in 10 years, information is collected about all people living in India. People who do this survey go from house to house and find out the number of people living in every house, in every village, town and city. This census provides us with a lot of information such as how old people are, their occupation, houses, education, religion, etc. The Registrar General and Census Commission of India organizes the collection and recording of this information.
2011 Census of India.
The 15th Indian census was conducted in two phases, house listing and population enumeration. House listing phase began on April 1, 2010 and involved collection of information about all buildings. Information for National Population Register was also collected in the first phase, which will be used to issue a 12-digit unique identification number to all registered Indians by Unique Identification Authority of India. The second population enumeration phase was conducted between 9 to February 28, 2011. Census has been conducted in India since 1872 and 2011 marks the first time biometric information was collected. According to the provisional reports released on March 31, 2011, the Indian population increased to 1.21 billion with a decadal growth of 17.64%. Adult literacy rate increased to 74.04% with a decadal growth of 9.21%. The motto of Census 2011 was Our Census, Our Future. Spread across 28 states and 7 union territories, the census covered 640 districts, 5,767 tehsils, 7,933 towns and more than 600,000 villages. A total of 2.7 million officials visited households in 7,933 towns and 600,000 villages, classifying the population according to gender, religion, education and occupation. The cost of the exercise was approximately 2,200 crore, $370 million. This comes to less than $0.5 per person, well below the estimated world average of $4.6 per person. Conducted every 10 years, this census faced big challenges considering India's vast area and diversity of cultures and opposition from the manpower involved. Information on castes was included in the census following demands from several ruling coalition leaders including Lalu Prasad Yadav, Sharad Yadav and Mulayam Singh Yadav, supported by opposition parties Bharatiya Janata Party, Akali Dal, Shiv Sena and Anadravda Muntra Kazhagam. Information on caste was last collected during the British Raj in 1931. During the early census, people often exaggerated their caste status to garner social status, and it is expected that people downgraded now in the expectation of gaining government benefits. Earlier, there was speculation of conducting caste-based census in 2011, first time after 80 years since 1931, to find the exact population of other backward class, OBCs, in India, but later the proposal was dropped. Mandal Commission report of 1980 quoted OBC population at 52%, though National Sample Survey Organisation, NSSO, survey of 2006 quoted OBC population at 41%. There is only one instance of a caste count in post-independence India. It was conducted in Kerala in 1968 by the communist government under EMS Namboodiripad to assess the social and economic backwardness of various lower castes. The census was termed Socio-Economic Survey of 1968 and the results were published in the Gazetteer of Kerala, 1971.
Census.
C. Chandramouli is the Registrar General and Commissioner of 2011 Indian Census. Census data was collected in 16 languages and training manual was prepared in 18 languages. The census was conducted in two phases. The first house listing phase began on April 1, 2010 and involved collection of data about all the buildings and census houses. Information for National Population Register was also collected in the first phase. The second population enumeration phase was conducted from 9th to 28th February 2011 all over the country. The eradication of epidemics. 2. Availability of more effective medicines for the treatment of various types of diseases and the improvement in the standard of living. These are the main reason for the high growth of population in India.
House listings.
The house listing schedule contained 35 questions.
Population enumeration.
The population enumeration schedule contained 30 questions.
National Population Register.
The National Population Register household schedule contained 9 questions. Once the information will be collected and digitalized, fingerprints and photos will be collected. Unique Identification Authority of India will issue a 12-digit identification number to all individuals, and the first ID was to be issued in 2011.
Census report.
Provisional data from the census was released on March 31, 2011, and was updated on May 20, 2013.
Population.
The population of India on March 1, 2011 was 1,210,193,422. India added 181.5 million to its population since 2001, slightly lower than the population of Brazil. India, with 2.4% of the world's surface area, accounts for 17.5% of its population. Uttar Pradesh is the most populous state with roughly 200 million people. A little over 5 out of 10 Indians live in the 6 states of Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. India is the homeland of major belief systems such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Sikhism and Jainism, while also being home to several indigenous faiths and tribal religions which have survived the influence of major religions for centuries. Ever since its inception, the Census of India has been collecting and publishing information about the religious affiliations as expressed by the people of India. In fact, population census has the rare distinction of being the only instrument that collects this diverse and important characteristic of the Indian population.
Religious demographics.
The religious population in Census of India in 2011 has still not been published as of March 2014, through the provisional census data were published in 2012 itself. There is speculation that Hindu population has gone below 80% compared to 80.5% in 2001, with Hindu population in India estimated at 1,000 million in 2011. The Muslim population was estimated at 14.6% of the country's population with about 177 million adherents.
Literacy.
Anyone above age 7 who can read and write in any language with an ability to understand was considered illiterate. In censuses before 1991, children below the age 5 were treated as illiterates. The literacy rate taking the entire population into account is termed as crude literacy rate, and taking the population from age 7 and above into account is termed as effective literacy rate. Effective literacy rate increased to a total of 74.04% with 82.14% of the males and 65.46% of the females being literate. The table lists the crude literacy rate in India from 1901.
Age structure. The age structure of the population refers to the number of males and females in different age groups in a country. It is one of the most basic characteristics of a population. Population of a nation is generally grouped into 3 broad categories. Children, generally below 15 years, working age 15 to 59 years, aged above 59 years.
A population pyramid is a type of graph. It's actually 2 bar charts standing back to back that shows the relative ages and makeup of a population. From them you can see how young or old a population is and how many are male or female. Watch the next clip and look out for the shape of a population pyramid for an MEDC and an LEDC.
The distribution of a population's age and sex can be represented by a population pyramid. For a developing country, the typical population pyramid would look like this. But if you compare this with a typical pyramid for a developed country, in this case the United Kingdom, it doesn't have a true pyramid shape. The narrow band across the base shows a low and falling birth rate. And if the pyramid is rectangular, then it shows an ageing population. In the baby boom years, we had a large birth rate, and as those children have got older, but yet had less children themselves, you can see the change in the population pyramid. This is today, and as that section of the population get older, we have less younger people to support them. The whole structure becomes unbalanced. Too many older people, not enough younger people. The UK has excellent healthcare, and this has helped to increase average life expectancy to 77 years.
Here are examples of population pyramids as you are more likely to see them in your exam. As you can see, it's actually two bar charts placed back to back. The left side shows the number of males and the right the number of females in the population. The x-axis usually shows quantity, in this case millions of people. The y-axis usually shows age, with births at the bottom and the oldest people represented at the top. In the clip, there were population pyramids that represented MEDCs and LEDCs. Both produce distinctive shapes that you need to remember. Here's the population pyramid for an LEDC. This lives up to its name, and just like a pyramid, it has a very triangular shape. Here's what you are more likely to see in an exam. This is for Bangladesh, an LEDC. It shows a high birth rate, high infant mortality and low life expectancy, all typical for an LEDC. Now the population pyramid for an MEDC. It doesn't look like a pyramid at all, but is more rectangular or lozenge shaped. Here's what you are more likely to see in an exam. This represents the UK. Notice the bulge in the middle. It's less tapered at the top, and a typical shape for an MEDC.
Sex ratio. Sex ratio is the number of females per 1000 males in the population. This information is an important social indicator to measure the extent of inequality between males and females in a society.
The news from India's 2011 census is almost all heartening. Literacy is up, life expectancy is up, family size is stabilizing. But there's one grim exception. In 2011, India counted only 914 girls aged 6 and under for every 1,000 boys. Without intervention, just a few more boys would be born than girls. If you compare the number of girls actually born to the number that would have been born had a normal sex ratio prevailed, then 600,000 Indian girls go missing every year. This is less distorted than the sex ratio in China. But whereas China's ratio has stabilized, India's is widening and has been for decades. Sex selection is now invading parts of the country that used not to practice it. India's sex ratio shows that gendercide is a feature not just of dictatorship and poverty. Unlike China, India is a democracy. There is no one-child policy to blame. Although parts of the countries are poor, poverty alone does not explain India's preference for sons. The states with the worst sex ratios, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, are amongst the richest, which suggests distorted sex selection will not be corrected just by wealth or government policy, but it can be corrected. Parents choose to abort female fetuses not because they don't want or love their daughters, but because they feel they must have sons, usually for social reasons. They also want smaller families, and something has to give. Ultrasound technology ensures that this something is a generation of unborn daughters because it lets them know the sex of a fetus. Sex selection, therefore, tends to increase with education and income. Wealthier, better educated people are more likely to want fewer children and can more easily afford the scans. But whereas sex selection may be understandable for a family, it is disastrous for a nation. It's an extreme expression of an attitude that says daughters are worth less than sons, a belief that is damaging both to women and to the next generation, since healthier, better educated mothers have healthier, better educated children. If sex ratios stay the same, 600,000 missing girls this year will become, in 18 years' time, over 10 million missing future brides. Robbery, rape, and bride trafficking tend to increase in any society with large groups of young single men. And because in China and India, men higher up the social ladder find wives more easily than those lower down, the social problems of bachelorhood tend to accumulate like silt among the poorest people, and in India, the lowest caste. This is unjust as well as damaging. Census 2011 is perhaps an indication that the country has reached a point of inflection, and in the worst affected areas, sex ratios are becoming less distorted, but governments need to hurry the process.
Literacy rates. According to the census of 2011, a person aged 7 years and above who can read and write with understanding any language is treated as literate. Literacy is a key for socio-economic progress. At independence in 1947, 12% of the population was literate. In 2001, it was 64.84%. It grew to 74.04% by 2011. However, the 2011 census shows that there is a wide disparity in literacy rates for men and women. Working population. The census of India groups them into 4 categories. 1. Cultivators, agricultural laborers, workers in household industries, other workers. Cultivators are farmers who farm or supervise the land that they own or take on rent. Agricultural laborers are those who work on another's farm for wages in cash or kind. Workers in household industries would be those who are manufacturing or repairing some product at home, such as dehusking of paddy, beedi workers, potters, weavers, repair of footwear, manufacture of toys, matches, etc. Other workers would be those who are employed in factories, trading, casual labor and all other occupations. Changing population size. Population is dynamic. The numbers, distribution and composition of the population are always changing. This is because of the interaction of the 3 processes: births, deaths, migrations. This change can be expressed in 2 ways. First, as absolute numbers, and second, as percentage change. Population change, absolute numbers, is equal to population at later date minus population at earlier date. Population change in a place is equal to number of births plus number of in-migrants minus number of deaths plus number of out-migrants. A positive number means the population has increased by that number. A negative number shows it has decreased by that number. Assume for the moment that there is no migration. In order to calculate these increases, we examine 2 rates. First, birth rate. Birth rate is the number of live births for 1000 persons in a year. In 1992, the birth rate in India was 29. This means that for every 1000 people living in the country during the last year, 29 live births took place. Second, death rate. Death rate is the number of deaths for 1000 persons in a year. For the year 1992, for every 1000 persons living at the time, 10 people died during the year. Therefore, 19 people for every 1000 was the addition during the year. This number can be expressed as percentage, that is 1.9%. Hence, we say that the population growth rate was 1.9% for the year 1992. We use another concept called the fertility rate. Total fertility rate is the number of children that is likely to be born to a woman if she were to live to the end of her childbearing years and bear children in accordance with current pattern. If this declines, then we can say that couples are deciding to have fewer children. Migration plays very significant role in changing the composition and distribution of population. Population density. Population density provides a better picture of its distribution. Population density is calculated as number of persons per unit area. India is one of the most densely populated countries of the world. Population density of India in the year 2011 was 382 persons per square kilometer. Densities vary from 904 persons per square kilometer in West Bengal to only 13 persons per square kilometer in Arunachal Pradesh.